Hey, what's up everybody? Thank y'all for tuning back into the channel. Hope everybody's doing good out there. Wanted to do a short video for you. I talked about this a little bit, touched on it in my last video, and I kind of want to go in a little bit more depth with it. And that's what I look for and what I start doing with my jig as the water gets colder. Now you guys know I keep a 1/4 ounce jig tied on year round. I've just had a lot of luck over the years with a 1/4 ounce jig. I keep one tied on and all spring, summer, all year long. I like to keep a little crawl type trailer on the back of it and just throw this thing and skip it around. I always got one of these tied on. If I'm having a hard time and the plastic's bite ain't what I think it ought to be, there's always been times I've been able to get a fish or two on this little 1/4 ounce jig, and it's so easy to skip, and you can pitch it, cast it too. I've always used a lot of the Arky head jigs because you could swim them, you could work them through cover on the bottom. They come through cover really good, but that's always been like my mainstay, the little 1/4 ounce jig. This is one of those moneymaker jigs I really like, black and blue with the purple in it. What I do when it starts to get colder is I like to go to a couple of different things. Let me show you one of them. One thing I like to do is I'll go to start throwing a bigger jig. I'll keep this tied on, 1/4 ounce, but I'll also start throwing a 3/8 and a 1/2 ounce. Now this is a 1/2 ounce Omega custom tackle, black and blue jig. This is another jig I throw a lot. Now this one, it doesn't have an Arky head. This one I drag around more on the, around on the bottom and around stumps and things like that. And it still comes through cover pretty good. I got a bigger profile trailer. I'll try to keep one compact jig and one bigger jig. And this is a 1/2 ounce with a old style Zoom trailer on it. And even though the claws on this are pretty big, the way this thing's made, it's not like the flapping claws that you see that have so much action to them. This is kind of just a big profile without having a lot of action in the tail of the trailer. And that's what I try to do as the water gets colder. I try to be more subtle and go with a big profile and a smaller profile. But my trailer usually has a lot less action to it, a lot less appendages, just a more natural looking and subtle look in the water. Now this jig right here, this is a real good jig in cold water. If you talk to anyone who's fished jigs a lot, they will tell you the one time, some people like to throw living rubber jigs year round. It's just something they got a lot of confidence in. I've had lots of good luck with the standard silicone jigs like a lot of people use, like on that moneymaker jig. This is called a mop jig. Now, this is living rubber. And the thing with living rubber is when this thing gets in the water, and it seems to really, to me, work better in colder water, is the way this jig flares out. Now you can see how it flares out, but when it gets down in the water, that thing really just opens up. And when it's sitting on the bottom, that skirt, man, just poofs open, and it's such a big profile. And I just got an old standard Zoom chunk on that little green pumpkin. But again, the jig's black and blue, and you're gonna see that's the common theme with all these jigs is black and blue, black and purple, solid black. I don't, very rarely, especially in the river, do I ever throw a green pumpkin or any other color jig besides black, black and blue, black and purple. It's just always been the color. In fact, when the water's cold, I pretty much always throw black. Even at Kerr, Gaston. Now at Kerr, sometimes I do throw that green pumpkin, that moneymaker Kerr crawl. That jig's been really good there. But for the most part, when that water temperature gets like 55 and below, I'll just about always have a black and blue jig or some color variation of that. This is another jig I like to throw. And this one has got a little bit of chartreuse in the black and blue skirt. So if you run into muddy water, it gives you an opportunity. You can throw the black and blue with a little bit of chartreuse in it. And this is a 3/8 ounce. Again, an Arky style head. And this is, like I said before, the moneymaker jig with the black, blue, and purple. Now let's talk about trailers for a second. That's the CP Crawl, 3.75 CP Crawl. That's the one that I keep tied on this 1/4 ounce jig all the time for skipping and just pitching, casting around. This trailer on this, in fact, let me get one of them out. I don't know how many, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with missile baits. They make a lot of different soft plastics, but they make a little chunk. It's called the Mini D chunk. And this color is called Super Bug. I love these. I put a lot of these on 1/4 ounce and 3/8 ounce jigs too. It's a real small trailer, but it's again real subtle. Does have a little vibration with the claws. This is black and green pumpkin on one side and more like a black and blue on the other. And this is a real good color. But these missile baits, Mini D chunks, if you fish a lot of finesse jigs, a lot of smaller jigs, this is a real good trailer. Another trailer I use a lot is this standard. And some of these, man, these Zoom trailers, I've had them for years. I don't remember all the names of them. I just always called this Batwing because of the way the appendages were shaped. Always looked like a couple of bat wings to me. I've had a lot of luck with those over the years. That's the one I had on the Omega custom jig. The thing with trailers is this: the colder the water, the more subtle you want the appendages and the jig trailer to be, in my opinion. You don't want something out there with a lot of, you know, big appendages that are just flopping around, because as the water gets colder, everything's movements become more subtle. The crawfish, the bait fish, you know, they're active, but they're not like they were when the water temperature was in the 70s and 80s. So that's always been the reason. Now, I will say that if you're trying the more subtle stuff and it's not working, and you really want to try to push the jig bite, you know, you can try whatever kind of trailer you want. These are just the ones that I really like to use. Again, I stick to the black and blue, throw a little chartreuse on it if the river's muddy or if the water's muddy. Try to keep the black and blue, purple. Don't forget about the mop jig. Man, for a while this mop jig was really popular. Davey Height went on a run with this thing, and it was something that a lot of people were catching a ton of fish with, and I'm sure a lot of people still throw them. Sometimes they can be a little bit hard to find now, but they also make a mini mop jig. But this living rubber, it's a real good alternative in cold water. If you want to get on a jig bite, is to try a living rubber jig. But that's kind of what I was talking about the other day when I touched on it. As that water gets colder, once it gets below 55, I'll start throwing the jig more than I will pitching a crawl or some sort of creature bait, and I'll get more into the jig. And you know, everybody knows the jig catches big fish. Back in the day when I was fishing in the clubs a lot, I had several November, December, January tournaments where I did really well, and it was almost always on a jig. You know, fishing used to be so much simpler. Yeah, I can remember, you know, you keep 2 or 3 rods on the deck, and that's what you went with the whole day. And now all these bait categories have expanded, and all the tackles gotten crazy, and so many different techniques and so many different baits. I honestly am really thinking hard and going through my tackle and taking stuff off the boat, and I'm really going to get back to the best I've ever done fishing, whether it was in tournaments or whether it was just fishing in general, was when I kept it simple. And when I kept it to the things I love to do, the things I was good at, and the things I had the most confidence in. And that's really what I'm about to try and get back to going into 2026. So this is the little take I had on the jig. You know, you can see what the common theme is with it. Black and blue. Don't forget on the trailers too, this little sapphire blue, man, that's a real good color on a trailer too, just as well as in the soft plastic. So I hope this helps you some with your jig fishing this fall and this winter. Get out there. Whenever you comment, let me know what you're catching, how you doing in your tournaments. And I'll be back on the water soon, and hopefully I can catch some on a jig and show them to you. So y'all take it easy, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.